What is going on, fam? It's your girl, Biola Akani, here with a new YouTube video. Welcome back, fam, and happy new year. Happy 2022. This is our first official video to bring in the new year. So we ain't doing Independence in 2022, y'all. 2022 is going to be all about interdependence over independence. Now, I might be a little rambly in this video, y'all, but stay with me as best you can. Interdependence is the dependence of two or more things or people depending on the other, while independence is focused on one thing depending on itself, and that could be also a person as well. For a very, very long time, I celebrated walking in independence because I wasn't aware as to the hidden traumas behind my decision to do so. Now, as a child, I was very sensitive. I am a highly sensitive person, and I was a highly sensitive and emotional child, which was very new for my parents. And so to help rectify that, or to help themselves get a little bit more comfortable with me, they left me alone with my emotions for long periods of time so that I could kind of work through things on my own. And that didn't cultivate the best coping mechanism for me as a result. What ended up happening is I ended up being very independent, very young and well into my teens and my early adulthood now. And I don't really trust people to hold space for my emotions, although I know I do a very, very good job at holding space for other people's emotions because I am so highly sensitive and empathetic. But I touted my independence as if it was a flag and a badge of honor, not knowing that I had put that on because my needs were not getting met. What's also interesting is that in 2019, I started to notice a really high peak of conversation centered around Black women and brown women being had by Black men, as to Black women being more suitable mates, being more feminine, being more attractive, and all of these conversations around the high value man looking for a super feminine woman. And I delve into that head first. It was really interesting because one of the things that I learned was that my independence was a cloak. I also learned that my need to constantly protect myself was a resistor as well. And I began to give myself permission to take those things off, to not stand on my soapbox anymore about being this independent woman, and to not be so resistant, and instead allow myself to be more receptive and vulnerable. Now, at the same time, a lot of that content, once I started to dive into it, I started to see the underlying kind of trauma or inaccuracy in those individuals, those men who were really pushing that and who continue to push that. So there's some truth to it, but there is also a lot of inaccuracy in it as well. But as Black women and brown women, we can really hold that independence badge of honor as a way to hide what we actually feel, as a way to hide that we've chosen to be really independent because we do not feel like our needs are being met. Independence is not part of our human nature, so to speak. We are supposed to care for self, but not necessarily being completely an island to oneself or completely independent in that way. Interdependence is a more secure way to build esteem, to build worthiness, to build businesses, to build families, to build homes, to build all of these things. So why do we continue to lean towards independence versus interdependence? Now, once I started to really be honest with myself about why I chose to really hone in on and celebrate this independence, which was the fact that my needs weren't being met, I had to address, especially now moving into 2022, now that I'm making this decision to really want to focus on exploring more interdependence, being in community with other people. I had to begin to ask the questions as to how do I ensure that my needs are being met so that I am not self-isolating, which is what I do when I don't feel like I'm being heard or being seen, or I don't know how to get my needs addressed in relationship with another person. If I had the tools to be able to communicate that, I would have chose interdependence a long time ago. But that's not here, there, or the other. Moving into 2022, if you're finding yourself here, one of the things we can ask ourselves is how do we ensure that our needs are being met so we can confidently move into this place of interdependence if that's not the space we've always dwelt in, and if it's not a particularly comfortable space for us. And what I've come to find is we gotta be okay with, one, communicating our needs, and two, clarifying our boundaries. When folks like myself really shroud ourselves in independence because our needs aren't being met, we are not clearly clarifying what our needs are to another person. And we have to begin to be able to do that, to be able to use our voice to communicate what our needs are and to reduce any type of people-pleasing behavior or wanting to take on someone else's emotions. This also leads to a lot of perfectionism. And what happens when you're independent, you almost feel like you have to be perfect all of the time because you are an island on your own. You are your own representative all of the time. And that can be very exhausting, very taxing. When you're interdependent, you can depend on other people a little bit more so that when you address and share your needs, you kind of build a confidence to know that they will be addressed. Sorry, y'all, one of my lights just came off, so if it's looking a little dark and shadowy, just deal with it, okay? You can still see me. You can still see me. First, being able to address our needs. This is something I started to practice in 2021, and it has been and was uncomfortable because it created distance in some of my relationships that I was really hoping to see flourish. But that's okay. Me being able to say, hey, this is how I want you to treat me when you're in relation with me, is me holding my space, is me honoring my own needs, and is me beginning to cultivate a space of interdependence with the other person. And it goes both ways. If that person has needs and they want to cultivate a deeper interdependence with me, I want them to be able to share those needs as well. And I want to be receptive to their needs as well. Number two, when it comes to cultivating more interdependence in 2022, is cultivating boundaries. Now, I've talked about this in a few videos. Boundaries are extensions of our own self-intimacy, and we have our boundaries and we honor our boundaries until we mature beyond them. However, you need to set the boundary first. What tends to happen, or what especially happened to me in the past, is because I did not discern that I needed to clarify boundaries. So when I felt violated or upset with someone because they weren't meeting my needs, I would self-isolate and become even more independent. And now I see that when I clarify my boundaries, I don't have to self-isolate to protect myself. My boundaries actually create a covering in love of self versus me self-isolating because I'm fearful of being hurt by someone else. So it creates a protection layer. When I self-isolate, that's external. But when I create boundaries, it's an internal covering in love. And that's just more of the power position. So creating more space to have conversations around boundaries. And that is also something we have to be able to be comfortable enough to express. A lot of these things in 2022, I'm noticing, are going to be about utilizing this thing right here, utilizing your throat chakra, which I'm learning is not something that I've often felt confident to express and utilize the way I once thought I did. So I'm noticing that in 2022, it's going to be a lot about speaking up for yourself, speaking and clarifying your needs, communicating how you want to be treated, clarifying your boundaries, and also being receptive of other folks doing that with you, because that creates a community of interdependence where people can comfortably be able to start to depend on one another or one or more people. And that cultivates and mushrooms out to community. And this is so enriching in being able to build and communicate and be in fellowship with other people. If the panini, or pandemic-y, taught us anything or taught me anything, it's that this world is not meant to be experienced by yourself. You will have times of, introversion. However, can definitely say that the most expedient growth I've had, and I say expedient as in fast, has been in community with one or more people. I have had deep growth by myself, but the fastest growth I've gotten has been with another person, which just goes to show how greatly we grow when we are in community with other people. So in 2022, y'all, it is about interdependence over independence. For all my sisters out there, I know that we can be really hard on ourselves and we feel the need to constantly be in a space of protecting ourselves. But I invite you to slowly begin to take off that cloak of armor and allow ourselves to be in community with other people and begin to express our needs and our boundaries, and maybe take a little bit of that weight that we carry and begin to explore sharing it with someone else, maybe someone close to you, and seeing if someone can begin to carry those things emotionally with you, not for you, but with you. This has been something I've started to exercise, and it's really been beautiful to see the pillars of relationships in my life kind of rising up as we refine this communication and I create space for them to communicate their needs and boundaries for me, and expands my ability to give onto them and to receive, and vice versa. That is a huge part of interdependence as well. If you have been one to always give, it cultivates a space for you to receive. If you've always been one to receive, it cultivates a space for you to give. I don't know about y'all, but I'm really excited about continuing to mature in this area of interdependence in the new year, in 2022. I hope this video was nourishing for you and educational. If so, go ahead and give me a like and hit that subscribe button, y'all. A lot of y'all are not subscribed, but you're watching my videos. I think it's a small percentage of y'all who are watching my videos are actually subscribed. So go ahead and click that subscribe button, or just head there and just make sure that you are subscribed. And then that like button, what it does, the light just went off on this other one, y'all. Stay with me. is the like helps the algorithm to know that y'all are really interested in this video, which helps me to get more content like this to you. So go ahead and give it a like. Make sure you're following me on the gram at Yoga by Biola, and I will see y'all very soon.